Okay, so tell me a little bit about the Southeast ADA Center and, just kind of how it all began.
Okay. Well, first of all, my name is Barry Whaley, and I am the project director of the Southeast ADA Center. The Southeast ADA Center is based in Lexington, Kentucky, but it serves the 8 states in the Southeast United States. We serve an area from Kentucky to Florida, from Mississippi to the Carolinas. Alabama, Georgia, Florida, North and South Carolina, and I don't think I missed any of them. So hopefully I got them all. We are one of 10 centers that are funded by NIDLR. It's the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. That's part of the Administration on Community Living within the Department of Health and Human Services. Southeast ADA Center is actually a project of the Burton Blatt Institute at Syracuse University. And Laszlo, I don't know, are you familiar with the work of Burton Blatt?
No, I am not familiar.
He was a great disability rights, disability justice scholar, best known for in the 1960s. He and a guy by the name of Fred Kaplan found their way into state institutions in the Northeast and photographed the atrocities that they saw there, and it became a book called Christmas in Purgatory. But so we carry on the legacy of Burton Blatt. The Burton Blatt Institute. Today, we are in the College of Law at Syracuse University, and we reach around the globe to advance the civic, economic, and social participation of people with disabilities through research that informs policy, programs, and practice development. So that's kind of who we are. We, as I said, are one of 10 centers, and we are funded every 5 years. So we are currently in the second year of a 5-year grant cycle.
Well, that's cool. So like if I could just like get into some of the services that you provide at the Southeast ADA Center, that would be
Sure.
great.
Yeah. So the ADA centers, the ADA National Network, exists to do four things. The first thing and most important thing that we do is we provide technical guidance on the Americans with Disabilities Act and other disability rights laws. So if you believe your rights have been violated, you believe you've been a victim of discrimination, either in employment or trying to access goods and services or through your municipal government, you can call an 800 number. It's 1-800-949-4232 anywhere in the country, and you'll be put in touch with a technical consultant who can answer your questions about the ADA. And if, in fact, your rights have been violated, we can give you advice on what to do next, because two things to keep in mind, Laszlo. Number one is we are not an enforcement agency in any way. We can only provide informal guidance based upon our knowledge, our understanding of the law. The other thing to tell you is we can't provide you with a legal opinion. We can only provide you with that informal guidance. So that's the first thing we do, and most importantly. The second thing we do is we provide training. And we do that either remotely or in person. I was just in Carolina Beach, North Carolina last week doing training for a group called North Carolina APSE. APSE is a national organization that promotes the policies of Employment First. And Employment First says that employment for people with disabilities should be the first and preferred outcome for people with disabilities. Now, it's not the only outcome, but it should be first considered. So I was down there and I did, some work for them, did 2 days of training for them. And we provide training on virtually any ADA topic, web courses, videos. We also have multimedia presentations. We have a couple of podcasts as well that you may be aware of. First is called ADA Live. It is a monthly show where we take an issue, a disability rights issue, and how it impacts the Americans with Disabilities Act and vice versa. So, for instance, this month we will have a show that will drop at 1 o'clock this Wednesday, 1 o'clock Eastern time. And that show, we talk with somebody from the Parkinson's Association about Parkinson's disease and how what rights under the ADA somebody with Parkinson's may have. The third thing we do is we are a knowledge translation center. So we provide issue briefs, white papers, resource sheets, other fact sheets on the ADA and disability rights. And then the fourth thing we do, Laszlo, is we conduct research. And we are currently in a 5-year research project examining the impact that intersectionality of race and disability have on 3 ADA related issues. So we're looking at employment, short and long-term poverty, and the access people have to digital technology. So our goal, we exist to advance knowledge and understanding of people's rights and responsibilities under the ADA.
Oh, that's cool. So like it's cool that you guys have a podcast. I will check that out on my own time for
Yep.
sure.
Right. And our other podcast, which I failed to mention, is called Disability Rights Today, where we interview lawyers who are involved in unique cases that have formed the Americans with Disabilities Act. We're getting ready to do one. I don't know if you saw last week, but in a unanimous opinion, the Supreme Court ruled in Perez versus Sturgis Schools case out of Michigan that young man who was not afforded sign language interpreters during his school program, and essentially the schools lied and told the family they were that he was making satisfactory academic progress when in fact he wasn't. So now the court ruled last week that he can sue for damages without exhausting all of his IDEA remedies under the law. So we're going to be talking with the attorney that argued the case before the appellate court. Her name is Ellen Seidman. So I forgot to mention that one.
Yeah, I think I've interviewed Ellen Seidman before on the podcast.
Oh,
So
excellent.
yeah. If I could move on, like, are there any particular stakeholders that you guys work with closely?
We work with a bunch of stakeholders, and that's an interesting question because we want to encourage meaningful partnerships with governments, with businesses, with community organizations. So we do that a couple of ways. Number one is we have affiliates in each of the 8 states in our region. So, for instance, in Kentucky, we work with the Human Development Institute at University of Kentucky. In South Carolina, we work with a Center for Independent Living, Able, South Carolina. So we have partnerships in each of those 8 states, and they carry on the work of the Southeast ADA Center in their particular states. In addition to that, we also have partnerships with the National Disability Institute, Georgia Emergency Preparedness Coalition. We also work with a group called ATL Next at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport, and I'm sure your listeners know that's the busiest airport in the world, and they take ADA compliance very seriously. So we partner with the airport in Atlanta to make sure that they're building their services within the airport itself are accessible. We also work with the National Park Service. We're working on 2 projects with them right now. Right now, the one that's most interesting to me is the Wright Brothers National Memorial in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. They recognize that it's not totally accessible to people with disabilities, and so we're working with them to put together a group of stakeholders that can advise them on how to make that park more accessible. APSI, the Association of People Supporting Employment First, I've already mentioned. I could go on and on. We probably work with 25, 30 different organizations who are our stakeholders and our partners.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys get to partner with a lot of organizations.
And very
Um,
diverse organizations too, right?
yeah, it's awesome. If I could move on and ask, like, what impact does your organization have on communities as a whole?
Yeah, so going back to that technical assistance aspect of it, Laszlo, we provide or we probably talk to gosh, I'm blanking, probably 300 people a month. So, 3,000 to 4,000 people each year will call our technical assistance line and seeking help from us. Additionally, our training, we train between 6,000 and 8,000 people a year. We also, through our project website, that's adasoutheast.org. That is an important information and dissemination tool for us, where we provide news, training resources, ADA court cases, training information. As I mentioned, our podcasts, ADA Live and Disability Rights Today. We also have a youth and self-advocacy curriculum that follows the aspirational goals of WIOA, the Work Innovation Opportunity Act, to help young people understand how to advocate for themselves and what their rights are under the law. We have financial empowerment opportunities, because one thing we know is that the social welfare system, right, which most people with disabilities, or many people with disabilities, are part of, that social welfare system is designed to keep people impoverished. It's a needs-based system, and so we make sure that we provide tools for people to have greater financial security and wealth building. So again, about 3,000 people in our technical assistance. We also, this is kind of cool. You want to learn more about the ADA, you can take a web course. We have several web courses at courses.myadalearning.org. And those web courses, for instance, the one that's most popular, Foundations of the ADA, which provides a broad understanding of what the ADA is, and how, what are the rights and responsibilities that people have under the ADA. And that's used not only by individuals, but large groups, universities, county governments, a number of people take those web courses each month. We also have other web courses at your service, welcoming people with disabilities, and the ADA Title II tutorial for state and local government, so they understand what their rights and responsibilities are under the law.
Yeah, that's cool. My last question here is, like, how do you create an inclusive and welcoming environment for people with disabilities, from an organizational perspective?
Right. So our entire staff is composed either of people who have disabilities or have family members who have disabilities. And that's true of our affiliate network as well, that we work with centers for independent living and university centers, generally employ people with disabilities, and those people with disabilities are part of the decision-making process. So why is that important to us? Laszlo, as well as I do, that disability is part of the human condition. And disability is not a dirty word. It's something that should be celebrated as part of who we are. So you I have a dear friend of mine who is autistic, and she will tell you that I am an autistic. I am not a person with autism, and your with is my problem, because disability is part of who she is. It's not all that who she is, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's a sister, she is a wife, she is an aunt, she has all these other roles, but she wants people to know that, disability is part of her, and it's something to be celebrated, it's something to embrace, and not something, if we think about this whole issue of unconscious bias, Laszlo,
Right.
what does the
Yes.
general public think of people with disabilities? And often those are very negative biases, and they shouldn't be, right? Because we are all,
Mhm.
whether you have a disability now or not, we are all one birthday, one medical condition, one medical procedure, one accident away from acquiring disability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I think is pretty important. I was just talking with a physical therapist about this earlier today, and we kind of agreed that it's something that should be like disability should be something that should be celebrated and not like, oh, this is a bad thing, or like, no, it's something that it's part of our diverse, fabric.
That you're absolutely right. And then when you look at media portrayal, for instance, of people with disabilities, or the language that we use, suffering from or confined to, I mean, those negative, that reinforcing those negative images, those negative biases of who people with disabilities are, when the disability community is a very rich community, both in terms of spirit as well as diversity. So that should be embraced and celebrated, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all fair points here.